On this episode of Tying Stuff Up, I'm going to go ahead and tie up a cool little pattern that I call the Bunny Boy. I used this pattern, recently when I fished the Bighorn River, and I moved a lot of trout. It was one of those days where all streamer fishing in the fall. This fly definitely did really well. Kind of a big profile for a small little bunny leash like this, or bunny streamer. And I'll show you why. So let me wet one of these down, and I'm going to show you just how that looks when it's wet. So there it is, wet. It doesn't collapse on itself. Typically when you use Zonker strips, they kind of fold on it pretty good. But the way I tie these in materials, you get kind of a fat profiled little bunny zonker that pushes water and definitely gets the fish's attention. I had trout leaping all over for this thing, so it was pretty darn cool. Good little patterns. I want to show you how you do that. And this is, I call this the trout version because it's kind of more of a bait fish pattern, streamer looking pattern. And this is the one that I've been doing for calico bass fishing in Southern California. This is more of a sculpin. So this has a weed guard, meant to be throwing this one into the boiler rocks, into the kelp, and get your fly back. And this is the calico version. And the same deal. When I wet this down, it's going to be nice and chunky through here and kind of lay down nice and thin in the back. And then this is more of a sculpin. So this is more of a sculpin. That's more of a bait fish. In a separate video, I'll show you how I tie this one. A couple little modifications to this, aside from the jig hook and everything else. But let me get going on this thing real quick. So hook for this one is going to be a Gamakatsu B10S. And that's the hook right there. So this is the trout version, and this one here is a size 2. Typically, I do 2, 4, 6. I think majority for the bighorn stuff, I was doing these in a size 4. So get this right back here. This works out pretty good. There it is. So let me go ahead and tie this up real quick. So what I'm going to do, first thing is I'm going to put in some pearl kind of Silliegs, okay? I just need about 4 or 5 of these, and I already have them kind of set apart here. So just about 4 or 5 of these. Then I'm going to lay off the back end of the fly. First step I'm going to do here is just add in a bit of some Zap-A-Gap to the shank. Thread of choice for pretty much all my patterns now, I keep on saying this, is just some fine clear mono thread. So because this is a stinger hook, what you got to do is take your thread to about right at the point of the hook. For more of a round back, you would take it to the barb. For these, you take it about right here. It tends to work the best in terms of your materials coming off the back end of it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just put these in now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just take them off the back end a certain distance that I like, about there. And of course, you could always just trim these back to get to the exact length that you want. So that's good there. Just pop them off, save those for the next fly, good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a very expensive zip tie. That's a joke. Zip ties are very cheap, and this works out really good. And you'll see why I'm going to do this. It's going to be a couple things and need for this little. So all I'm doing now is I'm going to take. I have my little wire cutters. Sorry about that. Wire cutters here. All I'm going to taper the ends of my little. And this is just the piece of the zip tie that actually gets in the locking mechanism. So it's nice and thin, and it's tapered a little bit, so I think it's kind of cool. I started doing this on my patterns, and I really like it, and I'm not sure if others are doing this. No, let me know if you guys are, because I've been doing this now for many years, and I think it makes a good support for that zonker. And it also does great for the keeping so the zonker doesn't foul on your hook point. So there you go. And all I do now is going to add a little bit of This is just some CCG Hydro. And I've said this before, they stopped making the Hydro, so now you have to use probably Flow. Loon Flow is probably, I would think, is probably what I would use if I need to buy some material. So go check that out if you need it. There you go. So there it is. That's my start of the fly. I'm going to go ahead now and just go and add in my Zonker Strip. So there's my Zonker Strip. And what you want to do is, which I didn't do here, is you want to just taper this back end so it's nice and tapered off the back end. So all I did is I tapered the back end, and you want to get this Zonker so that it's about 1.5 of a distance off the back end of that fly. Okay, it's about 1.5, between 2 and 1.5 is about that distance. So it's about there. Okay, so my hook point, my thread right now is right over, basically at that hook point. And I do is I just kind of spread open the Zonker, and I'm going to go ahead now and just come right through and attach it nice and firm. Okay, see that? So there you go. So I have my back end tail. I'm attaching that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Zonker, I'm going to fold it over, and these are Zonker strips. Okay, this isn't the crosscut stuff. Crosscut stuff is good, but what I'm trying to do here is that, but the crosscut stuff lays back flat, and I don't want to lay back flat. I want bulk. So what I'm going to do is just add there. I'm going to go ahead and just add in a little bit of some Zap-A-Gap right over there, over this point. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take in, this is an EP brush, okay? This is EP brush, but this has some really nice UV in it. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in, and I'm going to add that into my palmer when I bring over my my Zonker. So just to get right to the tie-in point, and bring everything back, and take your thread right to the dumbbell. Hopefully you're going to see that. All right, so now I have my tail portion, I have my Zonker. I'm going to take this UV and I'm going to get it so that everything kind of folds back, okay? Folds back like that. And get it so that it kind of follows the Zonker. I don't know if everyone can see that, but there it is. So there's my my Zonker strip, and there's my flash, and then just now palmer all that through. And just keep taking wraps of Zonker, just like that. I'm just going to look closer. So it's Zonker with the EP brush kind of coming through it. This makes a really nice highlight in that Zonker strip. Add some flash to it. UV is really money. It's really nice. So there it is. I've done like probably three wraps through here. Let's go ahead and tie this off. So come down through right there. Sorry about blocking that video, but I gotta get this tie in. Okay, there you go. So now I'm tied in. Add a little pressure on it, and I should be good. Now you don't want to use your scissors as you cut these materials, because that EP brush has a wire core. So I just use my little micro wire cutters. I mean, that's a really necessity here when tying some of these patterns. So Amazon, $10, you're good to go. All right, so here you go. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this Zonker strip, just kind of fat bodied, and I'm gonna do is I kind of went back a little bit and pushed my my thread back a little bit behind it. Okay, I'll wet my fingers a little bit and then lay back some of these materials just like that, and you'll see why for my next step. Just like that. So just lay down my materials. So I've wound it back a little bit. I've cut a little bit now, some space here and a gap here. Now what I have to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and add some Sculpt fibers and build this out a little bit as a bulky and more, a little more push, and then finish it off with a Zonker tail. Sorry, Zonker, a Arctic Fox tail. So head. All right. So this is my Sculpt fiber, and the color is gold. If you don't have Sculpt fiber, you can obviously use EP. I've become more and more of a fan of the Sculpt. I think it's the same manufacturer who makes the SF, and this stuff is really nice. It has some flash already built into it. What you do is you just, same thing as you're working with EP, what you do is you kind of just cut down a little bit of the material. I just cut it in half and create this nice little top here. I'm going to put that right on top of my fly. Just like that. Go ahead and fold this back. Just like there. So that's the top. Okay? Flip it around. This is Sculpt again. This is now the color white. Again, this is a long little hank. I'm going to take a nice little section of it. Just pulled off a little section of the hank of the Sculpt. I'm going to go ahead and just double that over, like that. Cut that in half, and then now take a section of that and build up my bottom. So I'm just kind of getting it to where I want it, trimming it down a little bit. You can take a little bit, if it seems a little thick, you can take a little section of it off. Okay, so now this is the bottom of the fly now. Now remember, you've added in some white rubber legs. So this is now going to just accent the white rubber legs that you've already added in. So it's a white bottom, yellow, barred brown top. Go ahead and just add it in, nice and neat. Now what you do here is you just take your materials and bring them together, just like that. Until you use like a until you use like your CCG, you can maneuver these materials pretty good. So go back to the top. I'm going to go ahead and now add another section of yellow right here on top. I usually add about two stacks. So that's about good there. Flip that back over. And just wind down on it. It's good there. And don't worry about how kind of big it looks right now. You'll be able to trim that down if you like, or keep it big. When it wet it down, this thing does just kind of fold down on itself. So here's my other little section of that white, right here on the bottom, and then fold that back over. Just like, let me get this through here. Okay. So now you got a two-tone little fly. Looking good. So just kind of get it through. Like I said, right now you can get the tops and the bottoms. You can kind of come together and bind them through. And same with the other side. Okay. Looking good. All I do now is I'm going to go ahead and whip finish this. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out of the vise. Okay. What I do is I just kind of look at it to see how it looks. A lot of times what I like to do is just thin some of the bottom out. So right there, around the hook point. So I'll just kind of push it down a little bit like that. And just take it and just take some of that out. Again, now this is your preference, right? So you're just kind of just trim that out. The top, what I'll do is the same thing. I'll just kind of get the yellow on top, see it here, and I'll just kind of push down a little bit. You don't need to take a lot out of that, okay? I mean, it's going to be, like I said, when you wet this down, it'll fold down pretty good. But I'll come down a little bit and I'll trim some of these tops down a little bit like that. Okay. Put it back in. I won't spend too much on that, but you can kind of see how it's made a little bit of a bulkier, fatter head on that. I think it's pretty good. Next, I'm going to do is I'm bringing some round rubber. This is not Silliegs, this is regular round rubber. And I'm going to add in just a little bit of some rubber on the side. So reattach that thread. That's a little bit too short. So I'm going to go ahead and take this long piece and I'll deal with it like this. So just go ahead and just attach that in. There's good, something like that. Do the other side, and then I'll trim that down right now. I'm just kind of easier to trim down than, of course, to do the opposite way. You can add to it, so it's always good to just kind of just get it where you want it. Bring them together off the sides, something like that. It's looking pretty good. I'll fish that. So there you go. So you got your fly's looking pretty good. You have your brown, your top, your bottom, rubber legs. Last little step here is going to be building out a head. So you can see we'll definitely push more water. So we'll go ahead and just cut that off. You can just kind of just add a little bit of a shot of zap-a-gap to those threads, because you're about to add on some 6-aught Danville Fly Masters. I like this orange. I mean, you can use any color you want, obviously, or any 6-aught. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and just create a dubbing loop, and I'm going to add in a dubbed head for this fly. I think it looks pretty good when you do that. So about a 5-inch loop is about what you need. I'm going to close that loop, something like that. And then I'm going to take that thread right back to the eye. Okay. Recently I bought this Loon dubbing twister. This thing is money. It's really nice. Makes doing these flies really nice and easy. Okay, so there you go. There's that, and here is going to be the head of the fly. I'm going to use, this is just a big chunk of Arctic fox for the tail, and I'm going to go ahead and first, I don't know if you guys ever seen this stuff, but it's just this, you know, the bankers use it. Kids are, their hands nice and moist. What I do is I want to add this to my my thread. I don't like using dubbing wax. I think it overdoes it, so I just add some bit of this stuff to the thread. What that does, it adds a little bit of moisture to the thread, so when I add on the Arctic fox, the material won't slip out. Okay, just a little bit of a trick there. All right, so here we go. Arctic fox, take a little chunk of it. It makes for a really cool little head. Hopefully I can show you guys without muffing this thing up too bad. I'm going to take out all the little guard hairs out of this Arctic fox, all the kind of the fuzzies. Okay, so take out all the fuzzies, get all the fuzzies out. You can clean it out with your hand. It doesn't have to be super clean. You're not going to stack this like you would like a deer hair. You just want to just get a lot of that under fur out of there. But you're going to get your tips. You're not going to use them. Just go ahead and just clip them off. And what you're left with is just a stack of hair. Take this stack, and I'm going to try to do this nice and easy on the video. Open up your loop. Put this little stack right in there. And as you can see, that moisture, that fingertip stuff, kind of keeps the hair in there pretty good. So just kind of move it around a little bit. Get it so that you can get it nice and balanced on your thread. Pretty good. I'm going to try to spin this now. So I've spinned the bottom of it, and then I can just let it go, and it'll spin the top. So here it goes. There it goes there. Oh, it's a little harder on the video. I'm trying to get this done here. A little easier in my device when I have all my room to Trying to get a nice spin off. It was a little harder off here. Just get in there. All I'm doing is I'm just spinning the bottom end of this thing, and it's just creating a nice little dubbing loop. So there you go. What I have then is I have all this material that I've kind of created here on the end of this, and I just spun that material, basically just making a fur rope. Okay. Now take this, you're gonna come through, and you're gonna wind one through just like that. Okay. I'm gonna come back around. I'm gonna come under. I'm gonna go over. Let me do this again. So I'm gonna come under, just like that. Let me do one little twist on this. There you go. So go like this. Come up under it. Back around. And there you go. Your little head. Now take this, go on top, and then just secure this through. There you go. So your fur head's kind of done. What I could do is just get these materials back and go ahead and just whip finish off a little head. There's nice and tight. If I can whip finish, I'll try. Just don't bind too much. There he goes. 1, 2. Okay. I did it. Worked out okay. Let's bring out my expensive little dubbing brush. All I'm doing now is going to get the head, basically get that fur out a little bit. You can see how it kind of like blends right into the fly. Looks pretty neat. Okay, then I can come in here and just looking good. All right. Last little step. Let's just bar this guy up. So just go in here. I'll do that. I'll also bar the top. And then I'll bar coming through. I'm just barring this little head here. Something like that. Looks good. Now the other side. Get my legs going on. I think these legs are a little bit longer. Trim those down a little bit. But there you go. I think you can essentially see this. This is what I'm calling the Bunny Boy streamer. Worked out really good. And the bighorn, like I said, I tie normally these in 2 6/4s. Probably majorities would be 6s and 4s. But size 2 obviously gets it done as well. Like I said, this is the calico version. Here's that's the trout version, more of a baitfish looking pattern. Here's the calico pattern, more of a sculpting pattern. So hopefully you guys like this little fly. It's been a good one. Try it out. Catches fish for sure. You can just add a little zappy gap to that head, and it'll knock that thread down and keep it nice and tight and good to go. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram, SoCalFlyTying, Facebook, SoCalFlyTying, all that good stuff. Next video I'll post will be of the calico pattern, which should definitely be cool to watch. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.